Okay, guys, it's the 11th of May. Um, I really do think we'll be doing this the rest of the year. Uh, I'm going to talk today about radicals, and all radicals are square roots and squares and things like that. But what we're going to talk about is looking at them and saying, how can I simplify that? Because when you look at a radical, well, it looks a little radical. So let's take a look and remember one thing that, for instance, with the square root of 180, that's equal to the square root of 10 times the square root of 18. And in order to simplify these things, what we want to try to do is find a perfect square as to one of the factors. Well, neither 10 nor 18 will allow us to do that. But what we could do is let's divide the 10 in half, because it's also equal to the square root of 5 times the square root of 36. Now, one thing we do know is that the square root of 36 is a natural square, and the square root of 36 is equal to 6. So if we take the square root of 36, this is now equal to the square root of 5 times 6, or in the more proper format, 6 times the square root of 5. And so it's much simpler to work with because now we only have a small number under the radical sign. Number 2 is, that's actually almost a no-brainer, because we know that the square root of 10 times the square root of 10 is equal to the square root of 100, and the square root of 10 times the square root of 10 is equal to 10. Okay? So, pretty easy. Number 3 is probably not quite as easy, but let's think about it as we go, because we're going to follow the same logic we did up here. If we divide by 10, we know that the square root of 320 is equal to the square root of 10 times the square root of 32. Well, neither one of those are numbers we can really work with. So let's try stepping down, because it's also equal to the square root of 5 times 2 times 32, the square root of 64. And we know that 64 is a natural square, because the square root of 5 times the square root of 8 times the square root of 8 is equal to 320. And if we factor those, that's equal to an 8. And we'll put it in the proper form, and we'll have 8 times the square root of 5. No big deal there. I'm leaving these ones at the bottom for you. But guys, I don't want anybody worried if they can't get this. Things are going to work out fine, and I just want to make sure everybody is not stressing over what we're doing here, because I don't know about you, but this is kind of a stressful time for me. I don't get out and see anybody very much. I go out for a walk, and for some reason people cross the street as I'm coming up. I don't know whether it's because I'm that ugly or what, but it's just, I miss interaction, and I miss you guys. So anyway, all right, let's start here. The square root of 448. Well, it's not going to be divisible by 10. So let's kind of start from the other end. This is equal to the square root of 2 times the square root of 224. Okay. Well, can't do much with either one of those. So let's bump it up 1 and say we got the square root of 4 times the square root of 112. Well, square root of 4 is 2, okay? So we can factor that one out and say that this is now equal to 2 times the square root of 112, okay? Well, we can have 2 times the square root of 112 divided by 2 is 56. Okay, or 2 times that is 2 times the square root of 56 times the square root of 2. Really doesn't get us there yet. But let's go again. We'll take 2 times, and we're going to split this one now. We're going to say this is equal to 2 times the square root of, if we divide 56 by 2, we get 56 divided by 2 is 25. 28 is equal to the square root of 28 times the square root of 4. Well, we're still not there, but we can do one more step. 2 times the square root of 7 times the square root of 4 is the square root of 28 times the square root of 4. So the square root of 4 times the square root of 4 is 4 times the square root of 7 times 2 will leave us with 4 times the square root of 7. Guys, it's all a logic issue, and there's many ways to get to each one of these answers. Each one of them, well, I will tell you this, when you first look at this, it's hard. But when you get into the fact that you're factoring what's under the radical until you get something that is a natural square, or in this case where we got square root of 4 times the square root of 4, so we can say it's 4. It's really not that hard. And, you know, this is the one I'm going to grade because the next one is a little bit harder. And but let's take a look at it and let's see how it worked out. All right, I'll be right back. You know, work on problems 5 through 8. I'll give you a couple of clues here. 5 times 25 is 125, so you end up with the square root of 5 times the square root of 25. The square root of 25 is a natural square and it's equal to 5. Okay? That's the sort of things you want to look at. 45, 9 times 5. Square root of 9 is 3, so you end up with 3 times the square root of 5. And finally, square root of 12 is equal to the square root of 2, or excuse me, the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Square root of 4 is 2, so you got 2 times the square root of 3. That's how you got to approach it. Good luck, and I will talk to you later.